All right, welcome back to another walkthrough. For this walkthrough, we're going to look at Excel 14G Regional Sales. This will be our first Excel worksheet for the semester, and let's begin. Go ahead and click on our assignment, and we'll go ahead and download our materials. And remember, don't download all files. It downloads a zip file, makes it a little bit more difficult. Go ahead and just click on each file individually to download it. And once they're downloaded, go ahead and open up your student file. And make sure you hit Enable Editing. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. All right, so a couple things with Excel. Notice that we have the same interface up here. We have our tabs. Some of them are the same tabs that we had in Word. And under each of those tabs, we still have our groupings. And once again, those groupings are very similar to the ones that we have in Microsoft Word. But our work area is a little bit differently. Notice that we have columns here and we have rows. So we have columns are A, B, C, D, E, F, and we have rows that are numbered 1 through however many rows we have. Where those two intersect is what's called our cell. One thing that if you are clicked inside of a cell, like right here I'm clicked in cell A2, that is called our active cell. We have our name box up here that tells us what cell we're in. Our FX button here is going to be where we click to add in formulas and functions. And then right here is our formula bar where we can type in information if need be and edit it and whatnot. So we've already downloaded our assignment for step 1. So for step number 2, the first thing it wants us to do is change the theme to retrospect. So to do that, we're going to go to our page layout tab here. And under our page layout, we have our themes. And what's really cool about themes is it's very easy to change the look and feel of our presentation or our paper just by clicking on a theme. Notice how when I hover over it, it gives us a preview of what it looks like. For this particular case, we want to find retrospect. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. There it is right here. I passed it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on retrospect, which is going to change our theme to retrospect. When we start adding some colors into this, you'll see the different colors and what that changes. Step number 3, which wants us to merge and center our title across A1 to H1. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click in cell A1 and I'm going to drag all the way over to H1. I'm going to click, drag, and highlight from A1 to H1. Now don't worry if this is not grayed out. This just means it's our active cell. We will learn about that in future assignments. But for now, just know that this is highlighting all of the cells. And now we want to merge and center. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to my Home tab here. And from my Home tab, under the alignment grouping, notice that I have a button that says Merge and Center. I'm going to go ahead and click on that Merge and Center. It's going to merge and center my title for me. It also wants me to apply the title cell style. So I'm going to come up here to my styles grouping. Yours may look a little bit differently depending on how big your screen is. You may not have any styles here showing. You may just have this down arrow with the line above it. You may have a button that looks like this that says styles. But for me, I have a few styles showing, so I'm going to hit this down arrow with the line above it. And I want to find the cell style that says total. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Notice how it changes my formatting for me. It also wants me to click and highlight cell A2 all the way over to H2. It wants me to highlight this second row here. It also wants me to merge and center it. So I'm going to come up here to my alignment group, click on merge and center. And it wants me to apply the heading 1 cell style. So I'm going to come back over here to my styles. I'm going to click the down arrow with the line above it. And I'm going to select the heading 1 cell style. And now notice how it changes that for me as well. All right, so for step number 4, it wants me to select the 7 column titles. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it wants me to highlight quarter 1 all the way over to trend. So it wants me to highlight these cells right here. It wants me to apply center formatting. We don't want to do merge and center, we just want to do center formatting. So we want to click on this center button right here. And it wants us to apply the heading 4 cell style. So I'm going to come up here to my styles grouping. I'm going to click the down arrow with the line above it, and I'm going to select heading 4. Now notice right here in G, you cannot read all of the words that are here in this title row here. So I do want to adjust this by using autofit. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect somewhere here. And I'm going to come up here between G and H, get those two arrows pointing away from each other. And I want to double click really fast. And when I do that, notice that it will auto-fit that cell to now say % of total sales. So now we can read everything there. For step number 5, by using the quick analysis tool, it wants us to sum Q1 sales. So I'm going to come over here to Q1 sales. I want to click on the first one here. I'm going to click on cell B4. I'm going to click, hold, and drag down to total sales. And notice that I get this little button right here. This is called our quick analysis button. I'm going to click on that quick analysis button. So I click on totals here, and it wants me to sum. So I want to select this first one right here. And notice how it will sum it for me right here. So it takes all of those and adds them together. Now there's another way I could do this. I could just go ahead and highlight cell C4 all the way down to C7. I could come up here to my home tab. I could come over here to my editing group, and I could click on auto sum, and it would automatically put it in for me. I could also type in a formula. So I could go ahead and click on cell D7 here. I could come up here to my formula bar. I could hit the equal sign, because every time you want to start a formula, you have to start with the equal sign. For adding cells together, it's very easy. I could just type in sum, S-U-M. So equal tells Excel to expect the formula. Sum tells it what formula we're going to use, which is going to be adding. Then I'm going to open my parentheses, which anything in the parentheses is what the actual formula is going to calculate. And I can come down here and I can highlight D4 all the way down to D6. And notice how it puts it in for me up here. And then I can go ahead and close my parentheses, and I can hit enter, and it will put in the sum for me. So you have a lot of different ways that you can put these formulas in here. And also you can go ahead and click on a formula. So right here I'm going to click in cell D7. I can copy a formula. So notice that I have this little dot down here at the bottom corner. I could go ahead and click hold that dot, drag it over to where I want to copy it, let go, and it will copy that format for me, that formula. So now I have totaled every single one of these columns. I'll actually show you an even better way that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these just for good measure. You don't have to do this, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and highlight B4 all the way over to F7, because notice that I want to total these as well as total these. So if I highlight all of the numbers plus where I want the totals to go, I could come up here, click auto sum, and it'll put everything in for me all at once, which is pretty cool. So there I've quickly added everything together to get my totals. It says using the quick analysis tool, formats in bold. So that's good. So maybe what I need to do here now is I need to highlight my totals. I think I was supposed to actually make sure these were all bolded. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these, hit the B button for bold, and make sure they are bolded. And it wants me to go ahead and bold these as well. So I'm going to hover down, highlight all of these, and I want to hit B for bold. So now all of my totals are bolded. If for some reason you did not create your formulas the way I did, feel free, you can come here to cell F4 and you can go ahead and add in your sums here to add these together. Alright, so now we are done with step number 5. And we are done with step number 6. Let's go ahead and move to step number 7, where it wants us to apply the accounting number format to the first row of sales and to the total row. So let's go ahead and highlight B4 all the way over to F4. And we're going to go ahead and hold down the Control key. For Mac users, it's probably Command, but I'm going to hold down the Control key. And I'm going to highlight B7 all the way over to F7. Now, if you can't highlight both rows at the same time, if you're having issues with that, you can highlight one, come up here to the numbering group and hit the accounting format number. Then come down here and highlight this one and hit the accounting number format. For my purposes, I'm going to highlight both of them at the same time. It wants me to highlight the remaining cells. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything here in the middle. And I want to change it to the comma style. So I'm going to come up here to my numbers grouping and I'm going to click on comma style. And notice now every single one of my numbers I cannot see. It has pound signs. That means I need to fit these cells so I can actually see the numbers. I'm going to auto fit them. So I'm going to come up here to my column B. I'm going to hover over it. I'm going to click hold and drag it all the way over to F. And I'm going to go in between C and D, get the two arrows pointing away from each other. I'm going to double click really fast. And notice now that it will auto fit, and now I can see all of my numbers. It also wants me to format the totals in row 7 with the total cell style. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight B all the way over to F, so B7 to F7. I'm going to come up here to my styles grouping under my home tab. I'm going to hit the down arrow with the line above it, and I'm going to select the total cell style right here. And lastly, notice how I'm having a hard time seeing total sales. I'm going to go ahead and deselect off of my highlighted cells. I'm going to come up here in between A and B, get those two arrows pointing away from each other, double click really fast, and now I should see all of total sales. It auto fits it for me. So now we are done with step number 7. For step number 8, it wants us to insert a new row 6. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on row 6. I'm going to actually hover over the number 6. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to right click on it and hit insert. And when I do that, notice that it will put in a new row 6. In cell A6, it wants me to type in Midwest. Now, when you're working in Excel, the quickest way to input data is to use your arrow keys and your tab keys. You don't want to continuously go back and forth to your mouse. It will take a lot of precious time away from you. So for me, I'm going to hit the tab key, which will take me over to cell B6. And now I can quickly type in 110985.45. Then I'm going to hit the tab key. Notice that when I hit the tab key, my totals automatically updated for me. So now in quarter 2, I'm going to type in 11867.4.91. I'm going to hit the tab key. Notice my formulas will automatically change. Now I'm going to type in 100548.50, hit the tab key, and then I'm going to type in 120621.17 and hit the tab key again, and notice that once again all of my totals have updated, and I was very easily able to move across these cells without having to use my cursor. Now I don't have a formula here, so I need to copy this down. So I'm going to go ahead and click on cell F5. And once again, notice that little dot down here in the corner of the cell. I'm going to go ahead and hover over it, click hold, and drag it down once. And notice that it will copy that formula down for me. And you can see that it tailors it for the row that it's in, B6 to E6. When I copied it from here, it said B5 to E5. So it copied the formula down for me and it tailored it for that particular row. In step number 9, it says using absolute cell reference, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. In cell G4, we're going to construct a formula that calculates the percentage of sales for the first region. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to build this formula. So I'm going to click in cell G4. And then I want to come to my formula bar. I want to click on it to tell Excel that it needs to expect the formula. I'm going to hit the equal sign. And I want to divide F4. So I'm going to click on F4. I'm going to hit the division key. So in Excel, the division key is the /. And I want to divide it by F8. So my formula right now should say equal F4 divided by F8. However, I need to make F8 what's called an absolute cell reference. So meaning when I copy this formula down, instead of changing F8 to F9 where there's no number, it will always keep F8 F8. In order to do an absolute cell reference for my Windows users, I'm going to hit the F4 key at the top of my keyboard. If you have a Windows laptop, most likely you will have to hold down the Fn key at the bottom near your space bar. But you want to hit the F4 key. And what that F4 key does is it puts a $ before and after the F. For my Mac users, I'm not sure exactly how you put in an absolute cell reference by using a key. So for my Mac users, feel free, just put that $ before and after the F, and it will achieve the same thing. It'll make it an absolute cell reference. So right now my formula should read equal F4 divided by $F $8. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And it's going to give me a very long decimal point because we haven't changed it to a % style yet. But I do also want to copy this down. So I'm going to go ahead and click on cell G4. I'm going to hover over this little dot right here in the corner. I'm going to click, hold, and drag it down to cell G7. And I'm going to show you what that absolute cell reference did. So notice how the formula says F4 divided by F8. When I click on cell G5 here, it says F5 divided by F8. And if I click on the next one down, it says F6 divided by F8. So whatever cell I did not make an absolute cell reference, it changes and tailors it for that row. The one that I did set to an absolute cell reference, meaning it will always refer to this cell no matter how many times I copy this formula down. And we will be using that quite a bit in our future assignments. So now that I have all of these numbers here, I want to make it into a % style. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight G4 all the way down to G7 here. Once they're all highlighted, I'm going to come up here to my number grouping. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the % style right here. And notice that it gives me the percents here. And it wants me to have 2 decimal places. So I'm going to come up here to my number grouping and notice that I have these 2 little icons here. One says increase decimal, one says decrease decimal. I want to increase it by 2, so I'm going to hit 1, 2. So now I have % style with 2 decimal places. For step number 11, it wants me to insert Sparklines. Sparklines are an easy way for you to quickly see what the data is doing. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and click in cell H4 here. And I'm going to come to my Insert tab, because just like in Word, anytime you want to insert something, most likely it is under the Insert tab. And I want to do a line Sparkline. So I'm going to come over here to my Sparklines, and I want to click on Line. It's going to ask me what my data range is going to be. So my data range, what's really nice about Excel, is I can come over here and my data range is going to be B4 to E4. So I can just go ahead and click hold on B4 and highlight all the way over to E4. Now I could come into this data range and I could type in B4 colon E4, which would accomplish the same thing, and then go ahead and hit OK. And notice that it will put a trend line in there for me. And it's just a quick way to see that, look, the sales went down, but then went sharply up in Q4. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this down. So I'm going to come over to this little dot again. I'm going to click hold and drag it all the way down to H7. Notice that will tailor the trend line for the data. It wants me to set the style of the Sparklines to the second style in the second row. So I'm going to come up here to my Sparklines contextual tab. It wants me to click on this down arrow with a line above it for style. And I need to select the second style in the second row. So it looks like this one right here. Second style, second row. And once again, it just gives me a quick glance at what my data is doing. All right, for step number 12, it wants me to compare the quarterly sales for each region visually. So it wants me to select the range that represents the sales figures for the 4 quarters, including the quarter names of each region. Do not include any totals. So I'm going to highlight from A3 all the way down to E7. So I want to highlight just the quarter names, just the names here, and the numbers. It does not want me to select the totals. And it wants me to insert a clustered column chart. Once again, I'm going to go to my Insert tab here. Under my Charts, I'm going to click on Recommended Charts. And notice under Recommended Charts, I should have the very first one here, a clustered column chart. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and it will put in that clustered column chart for me. Charts are a very good way in Excel to, once again, visually see what the data is doing. If you just look at these numbers at a glance, you really can't tell, unless you really start looking at them, if the sales trends are going up, down. With a chart, it's very easy to see how the data has changed, how our sales have increased. So right now, this is not the way I want it to be. It wants me to flip this. It wants the quarters to be the legend, and it wants these individual categories here to be these right here. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on under data, under my chart design, I'm going to click switch row column data. And notice now when I do that, Northeast is on category, and now I can easily see how the sales are working. Southeast is a category, and I can see how their sales changed over the different quarters. So just by clicking this switch row column data, I'm able to change my chart accordingly. It wants me to apply the chart style 8. It's going to be under my chart design. Here's my chart styles. I'm going to click the down arrow with the line above it, and it wants me to select style number 8, which is this one right here with the dark background. It also wants me to change the colors by applying the third row of colors under colorful. So I'm going to go ahead and click on change colors here, and it wants me to select the third one down. So I'm going to do 1, 2, so this one right here. Notice how it just changes the colors for me. And it wants me to position the chart so that the upper middle sizing handle is on the line between column D and column E. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here in this blank area. Notice how I get these 4 arrows pointing away from each other. That's my move handle, so I'm going to click hold, and I'm going to drag this. It wants this dot here in between D and E on this line. So make sure this dot is on the line between D and E. So now it wants me to change the chart title. So I'm going to go ahead and where it says chart title, I'm going to go ahead and click on it once. And I want to go ahead and click on it again. Notice that my cursor is now inside the chart title. I can use my arrow keys and my backspace key to delete chart title and type in regional sales to fitness club. Oh, looks like I put too many E's in there. Make sure you capitalize the R, S, F, and C. Now it wants me to deselect my chart, so I'm just going to go ahead and click somewhere over here in the blank area. It wants me to change the orientation from to landscape. So I'm going to come up here to my page layout where it says orientation under page setup. I want to change it to landscape. It wants me to center the page horizontally. So right here under my page setup, this little dialog box button right here, I'm going to click on that button. Under margins, I'm going to center on page horizontally. Put a check mark next to that. Also, I want to put in a header footer. I'm going to do a custom footer. And here in the left section, I want to put the file name, which is this icon right here. And I'll put something like and file. And the reason, once again, you want to put in the file name like this is if the file name does change, this will automatically update. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. And for our last step, it wants me to go to the File tab under the Info grouping here. I'm going to hit Show All Properties. I need to put in my tag, so I'm going to go ahead and put in Fitness Club, Fitness Clubs, all lowercase, comma, 1 space, Regional Sales. In the subject box, I'm just going to type in CGS. And it wants me to make sure my name is here, so I'm going to right click on Go Series, hit Remove Person, and then add an author. I'm going to type in my name. And that's it. I should be done. I'm going to go ahead and hit the Save button here. I'm going to hit Save again for good measure. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, come back to my starting materials. I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to choose my file. Should be under the Downloads folder, so I'm going to click on Downloads, and there it is. There's my student file. Click on it, hit Open, and Upload. And now I'm going to go ahead and submit for grading. I'll close my assignment. If my button here doesn't work, I'm just going to come up here and click on the tab. And I'm going to hit the 3 dots here and view my submission. And it looks like I got a 97.2%. I am a terrible student. Let's take a look and see what I did wrong. I'm going to click on the submission. And I'm going to scroll down. And it looks like right here I lost 2 points. Let me hit the down arrow. It says in cells G4, G5, G6, G7 of sheet 1, the horizontal alignment was not set to center. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to my file here. I'm going to go ahead and open it back up. So G4, let's see, so G4 to G8, I must have missed in the step that it wanted me to highlight these for the percent style, go to my Home tab, and it wanted me to center it. So I'm going to go ahead and center it now. So I missed that step. I missed centering these numbers. So now I'm going to go ahead and minimize this again. And it says, insert the Sparklines. It looks like I missed something here. Let's see. It says the markers were not applied. So it wanted me to apply Sparkline markers. I must have missed that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I'm going to highlight my trend lines, all 4 of them. I'm going to click on my Sparklines tab here. And it wanted me to put a check mark under Show Markers. And there it is. It shows all the little dots. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this file again. And I'm going to go ahead and resubmit it. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here. I'm going to hit this X. I'm going to click on my assignment again. I'm going to go ahead and choose my file. There it is. Open, upload, and I'm going to resubmit it for grading. And I'll go ahead and close out of this tab. Now I'm going to check it again, hit the 3 dots, hit View Submissions. And now I have 100%. So once again, you can do this as many times as you want for the best grade possible. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and have a wonderful day.